Welcome to another episode of A Bad Idea for Podcast. Today I'm really excited because we're going to speak about sports marketing. Okay, and in order to do so, we have one of the experts in this industry and one of the brightest minds that is working and is currently outside of the market doing a mentorship, and I will describe it and he can correct me like during the podcast. It's kind of like the head of media for companies, organizations, and athletes, but it's not the head of media. It's something in between, right? So he's going to explain us a little bit what he's doing right now. But without further ado, and because of a bad idea for podcast tradition, I'm going to introduce him in a proper way. Please welcome today's guest, representing the O40, Marco Kehrenberg.
Wow, thank you, man. Thanks for the invitation.
My pleasure, man. My pleasure. I'm really excited because, as I told, we're going to speak about sports marketing, and I believe that you are one of the brightest minds out there. But first of all, Marco, explain us a little bit I will say the project and all these resources that you're putting on Sport IQ. Can you walk us through a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. And it's really a new project of mine. I started it a couple of months ago. And in the past, we'll get to that. I worked for sports clubs, sports organizations. So I have got different perspectives on the whole sports business. And what always surprised me was when they were talking about marketing and strategy, they don't really talk that much about the athletes. And that surprises me because they are the ones who are creating the value in sports. They are the ones who are out there, and we like to watch them doing their sports. So I always wondered how they can come up with another or different opportunities to get out there, get more attention. And as I was working in marketing in the past, I have now come up with the idea of Sports IQ, and it's like a firm, a company where I provide them services in marketing and especially marketing strategy. So I talk to the athletes, we set up a marketing strategy, we help them to discover who they really are and how to put that on different social media channels, for example, but it could be anything. It's not about a certain channel. I'm not doing like LinkedIn consultancy or something like that. So I really am open for discussion what the outcome of the consultancy can be.
How relevant, or I mean, what's the most important element to build up an athlete's brand? Because every time we saw someone as a professional athlete, we saw everything on social media, and we saw that they're behaving that like in a certain manner and stuff like that. But for you, what's the most important element to build up that athlete's brand?
Yeah, yeah. I think it comes down to essentially three parts of the athlete's brand. The most important one for me are the personal values. You have to understand who you are to show it to the audience out there. The second one is understanding the target group. So you have to understand who you are communicating to. And the third one is then setting goals. Like in every part of life, it's a good thing if you set yourself goals. So if you combine all these three, you basically have a marketing strategy. And that's what a personal brand for athletes, not only for athletes, but especially for athletes is, in my opinion.
And that, now, does differ from building an organization brand? Because in my point of view, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Marco, but I believe that any sport organization, the product itself is what they put on the field, right? For example,
Yeah.
an American football team, I don't know, the Hamburg Sea Devils, for example, in Hamburg.
Yeah.
So the product itself is what the players and the coaches are putting every week on the field, right? And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
you have the brand itself, which is the name and the organization. So how does differ from building the brand as an athlete and building a brand as a sports organization?
Yeah, it's a bit of same, but different, right?
Hmm.
Like if we look at the three aspects that I just mentioned, understanding the target group or the audience, I mean, it's the same for an organization than it is for an athlete. Setting goals is also possible for an organization. The difficult part are the values. Like if you ask different employees within the organization, if you ask the management, if you ask the fans, all will probably give you different answers. Or even if you have a company that has one founder, it's difficult for him or her to protect these values over time when the organization has been growing in the past. And you see that in a lot of organizations. So the difficult part is to get your values straight, communicate them as well internally as externally. And yeah, that's the most important part for not only a personal brand, but also the branding of an organization, in my view.
And now, for example, what it takes to develop an athlete, not only like on the professional side, but on the personal side, because I think that you as a mentor and you using the, I will say, I mean, I don't want to put the word platform because it's not, it's like a service, right? But for
Yeah.
example, using a sport IQ and using all the sport IQ that you have, like no pun intended, but how is to build up an athlete, like an athlete brand, but not only on the professional side, but on the personal side?
Yeah. Um, yeah, that's really interesting because if you look at different services out there working on personal branding for athletes, you will get different answers. Like if you look
Hmm.
at a lot of freelancers who are doing it, they make it seem really easy. They make it seem like, yeah, use these 6 steps and you will have a personal branding for athletes. And still they say, let me do it for you.
Yeah.
Then you have these big agencies and they are pretending that personal branding for athletes is like a magic thing. You need fairy
Mhm.
dust and 20 years of marketing experience to be able to come up with a personal brand for athletes.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like I'm in the middle and I want to simplify these things. So in the end, in my opinion, you have to show your personality as an athlete and do that in a way that others can connect.
Okay.
So
Okay.
what is then again important? Your personal values, your personal goals, and again, understanding the target group. So how am I achieving this with athletes? A
Hmm.
lot of discussion. Like there are different tools that we use. We talk a lot about it. We discuss things. It's sometimes I get referred to as like a coach, but I
Hmm.
really like the term mentoring more.
Yeah.
So it's it's pretty like you start with the marketing terms, and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and you start talking about life and the person essentially who you're
Yeah.
working with. Yeah,
Okay. Because I wanted to know because sometimes people tend to tell athletes that you need to stick to your sport and never try to show how you who you are, like on a personal
yeah,
level.
yeah,
So that's why I'm asking it because I don't know if you remember when all the situation in the U.S. happened a couple of years ago, when with all this movement, Black Lives Matter,
yeah,
and there was so many messages on social media that told athletes stick to play basketball, and that's it. So,
yeah.
like for you as a mentorship, like helping athletes building their brand, how can they tackle this type of issues when they have this type of situations, right?
Yeah, so I'm always pro athlete. I mean,
Mhm.
if you look at the situation, for example, in the WNBA right now, it's also same, but different. They want to have more money, higher salaries, which I totally understand because if you look at the sales volume that this league has right now, they are heavily underpaid. And I understand their protests, for example, and the league is saying, yeah, please just keep on playing and do nothing. So I can only encourage players to show their opinion to the outside world, but do it in like an authentic and also like in a way that there is still room for compromise. You know what I mean? So not like don't be like too negative, but show up possibilities and yeah, just be open.
Okay. So basically, we can say that speak your mind, right? But at the same time, try to put solutions out there, not only complain
Yeah,
about it.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay, that's good. I'm gonna write that down because it's always useful. Now, Marco, sports marketing has so many layers, right? What has been the like some misconceptions that you face out there that people say like, oh, you're a sports marketer, oh, you're like, you know?
Yeah, yeah. It's always funny when I discuss my job with my family and friends because, like,
Okay,
one big misconception about sports marketing is that everybody thinks it's easy. Everybody
okay,
thinks he or she is an expert and can
yeah,
talk about it. Like, if you are a supporter, a fan, and you're watching football, you think like you're on the same level as the football manager, for example. And that's certainly not the case. Of course, sometimes it's frustrating when like you are working on this topic 24/7 and then somebody comes along and says, yeah, you're not looking at it the right way. I will tell you how to look at sports marketing, but I think that's part of the job, I guess.
but in general in sport, when you and one of your athletes or one of your sports organization are facing a crisis because someone said something or because someone do something, how you how you handle that crisis?
So I'm not a PR consultant and
Yeah.
also no psychologist, but I would always say like stay true to yourself, like
Okay.
believe in your own strengths. Of course, to be able to do so, you really have like you have to have a solid foundation on which you can work with. But yeah, it's of course easier said than done. Just stay true to yourself. But that would be my recommendation, actually.
Okay. Now, Marco, we want to know a little bit more about you on the personal and the sports side because we know that you play handball. I pronounce it correctly, right? Handball.
Yeah, yeah, you
Okay.
pronounce it correctly.
I
Yeah,
think I'm doing it the German way, handball. So, can you walk us through to your sports journey?
yeah, sure. It's a really long story, but I try to keep it short.
No worries.
So I
We have all the
started.
time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You just want the sports perspective or also the business perspective?
I think we can go with the sports perspective, and then you can walk us through with the business
Sure.
perspective because I think it's like they're going side by side. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they're heavily connected. So I started playing handball at a really a young age. I was like 5 or 6 years old.
Hmm.
And for me, it was always clear that this could also become a profession. I was
Hmm.
always fascinated, for example, by the football manager games. And so it came naturally when I had to do my first internship in school when I was like
Hmm.
14 years old. I was really happy when I had the opportunity to do this internship at the German Handball Federation, Dortmund.
Hmm.
Um, and I think I never had any holidays after that because I always like, if I had some school days off, I would go and work for them.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
visited all national matches, worked for them there in the merchandising shops and everything. So that was really great and like a kickstart into
Yeah.
sports business. And at the same time, I kept playing handball. I was like, when I finished school, it was a mediocre level on which I played. I think it was like the fifth league in Germany.
Uh-huh.
And I never assumed that this could become also part of my business life as well. But then when I went to study to the Netherlands, I had the opportunity to get a roster spot in the team there, which played in the
Mhm.
first league in the Netherlands. And I was able to finance my study with this contract, which was
Wow. Okay.
amazing for me. During that time, they also played kind of semi-international handball. There has been a
Mhm.
tournament which is called Benelux League.
Mhm.
So the best teams of Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg. So suddenly I was playing in Luxembourg over the weekend,
Wow.
and that was really crazy. And even now, if I watch handball and I see Dutch players, I probably played against them in the past, and now they are playing Champions League.
Wow.
And yeah, after that, I did an internship at the Bundesliga club in Hanover, so handball
Mhm.
Bundesliga. Worked a couple of years in Frankfurt at the German Sports Aid Foundation. So I got a view outside of handball as well because they are supporting athletes from different sports, uh, also Paralympic sports, which was really exciting. I got to visit a lot of sports event there as well. I worked in fundraising there, and then I moved to Hamburg, and yeah, that was. I already have a bad idea that turned into a good idea because I worked like in a real bore out job here,
Okay.
and it had something to do with affiliate marketing. Are you familiar with affiliate marketing?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, so I worked at a ticketing company and I set up their affiliate program, and I saw how much or how much revenue can be generated by small blogs and websites who are just putting out informational content actually. And I thought to myself, if this is possible for concerts, what about sports? So obviously, I thought about handball. I saw how the handball clubs, but also the German Handball Federation struggled with ticketing information. So I built my own website, and that was crazy. Like on the very first day, I generated my first visits to the website, and immediately there have been sales. So affiliate marketing works in a way like you try to reach a lot of users, and if they then buy something on another platform, you get a share of the sale. So that was really
That's
exciting for
crazy.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really crazy. I mean, if you look at the effort I put in this and the outcome, it's crazy. It's really a bad idea. But on the other hand, for me, it was exciting because I got to meet so many people.
Yeah.
I really learned a lot about marketing as well, like by doing it myself. But after a couple of years, COVID hit, and it was
Mhm.
certain that there won't be any sports events and handball matches for the upcoming months for which
Yeah.
I could sell tickets. So I asked myself, what will I do with this platform? And I found someone who wanted to buy this platform for me.
Okay.
And he is a multi-entrepreneur. One of his companies is Handball World, like the biggest handball publisher that there is for handball news. And we talked a couple of times, and he immediately told me like, "Yeah, I will buy your platform, but
Mhm.
what about you? Do you want to work for my company?" And
Okay. Yeah.
in the next couple of years, I um, led his digital marketing agency so that he was able to focus on other ventures.
Mhm.
And that was also exciting for me. Like we had a lot of clients in sports as well. For example, the German Handball Federation, again, the
Mhm.
European Handball Federation. We Play Handball, which is the biggest e-commerce shop for handball in Germany.
Mhm.
Um, but also a lot of clients outside of sports. And that has been one of the reasons why I decided to go my own way and focus more
Okay.
on sports again. And in the meantime, I always, not always kept playing handball, but I decided to stepped down a couple of leagues, and now I'm playing in
Yeah.
like the second lowest league that there is here in northern Germany. So just for fun, just for
Yeah.
keeping moving, drinking a couple
Okay.
of beers after training, stuff like that.
Okay. That sounds good. Because I wanted to ask you because I mean I come from Mexico, and in Mexico, of course, we have so many professional leagues and so many sports, and here in Germany as well. But I can imagine the struggle through trying to compete with something as big as football. And for example, for a sport like handball, how difficult was for you to start trying to build up your own business with a network that could be like with a sport could be part of a niche, not like football,
Sure.
which is really big. What
Yeah,
has
yeah,
been the
yeah.
struggles that you face?
I think it's a question of mindset. Like, do you
Hmm.
want to be the fifth hundredth advisor in sports marketing for football because everybody's
Yeah.
doing it, or do you want to be one of the top advisors in your niche? And don't underestimate handball in Germany. It's a
No,
big
no, no. I know.
competition.
I mean, and sorry to interrupt, but I'm a huge fan of Berlin. I know that the rivalry
Yeah.
between Berlin and Hamburg. I know, but I'm always a Berlin supporter, and I went quite sometimes to the Fuchse in
Yeah.
the Max Halle, and the atmosphere is amazing. You
Yeah.
know,
It
and
is.
the
Yeah.
rhythm of the game. I mean, I don't quite understand the whole rules of the game, but the atmosphere, the
Yeah.
rhythm, the velocity, the speed that they have, it's
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah, and the Füchse really understand it to make an event out of this.
Yes, absolutely,
So
absolutely.
this is also something that I'm thinking a lot about, and also talking a lot about with clubs from the Handball Bundesliga.
Hmm.
Handball is coming from like the rural areas of Germany, and it's also the same in other countries. It's not like the big city sports, I guess. It became something like this in the last couple of years, and they are really like they have their loyal fan base, but they have issues in communicating how cool this sport is to others, and especially to the young target group. So there are lots and lots and lots of opportunities out there to get more attention, basically to get connections to the young target group. And handball is really changing right now, so it's an exciting time.
In sports or in professional sports, and I will say even in sports marketing, the reference that we have always is the US, how they do it, the way, like the American way, I will say. But in Germany, it's completely different. If you go
Yeah,
to Hertha Berlin, Hamburger SV, or St. Pauli, or Union Berlin, Bayern München, and so on and so on and so on, and
yeah,
then go to a Bundesliga basketball game, and then well, Eurobasket, or go to the handball, or go to any sport in Germany, are completely different. Than like the show is completely different than the way in the US.
yeah.
So with all the expertise that you have, do you think that at some point the sports business should lean to how the Americans are doing it, or keep it with the German traditions?
I really like the American way with
Hmm.
making the sports event like a real event.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And I think Europe especially has to find a middle ground. Like, of course, the sports still needs to be the center of attention. But you still, especially in a city like Berlin, have to face the facts that there are so many opportunities in Berlin that you have to find ways to, to shine and to attract spectators, even though they might not know the rules of handball like
That's true.
like
That's true.
yourself.
That's true.
So um, I think handball especially is such an attractive sport with so many highlights. There's so much happening, but we'll need to understand that not everybody will watch the entire 60 minutes, and it also needs to be attractive it just needs to be this whole package of like, I want to go with my family there because it's a great atmosphere, it's a great game. And afterwards, maybe I'll buy a league pass and watch more games with a live stream. Um, and especially if you look at these new sports concepts and formats, like, for example, the indoor soccer tournaments, like Baller League, Icon League, they are basically only about everything else around the sports that is happening there. So we'll definitely need to find new ways and new strategies to get more viewers and get more spectators there.
You mentioned earlier that like you started playing sports when you was like 5, 6 years old, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, can you recall a childhood moment that do you think that shaped you the way you are professionally right now?
Well, more than one. There are so many
Okay.
moments. Yeah, I think when I played at a really small club in my hometown on a low level, and when it became more and more obvious that I wanted also to make sports my profession, um, my parents told me, yeah, maybe it's a good idea to go to a bigger club so that you have the opportunity to train on a higher level, maybe have the opportunity then to play on a higher level later on. They were absolutely right about that. And still, it's of course a difficult time if you change clubs and you didn't really want to in the first place. But my coach told me, like, everything you do, everything new you do, it needs like half a year to um, acclimate to it, to
Mhm,
get used to it. And he's so right about that. Like every time you start something new, it takes some time to find your rhythm, to um, become if you are new to a group, to become a vital part to this group, for
mhm.
example. So chill out, take your time, breathe, and
Yeah.
after half a year, the world is, yeah, it seems like nothing has changed in the past, but you have made this progress
Okay.
in the weeks and months before this.
Marco, for you, who has been the biggest inspiration in your journey? Because you can take it you can take it as a two-part question because it could be either professionally or personally. Who has been the biggest inspiration for you?
Um, it depends, but right now I really enjoy watching interviews and documentaries about Rick Rubin, the music producer. Do you know
Hmm.
him?
Yeah.
So if you ask him what makes him special, what has been his magic gift that he provided to music artists, he says something like, nothing. I don't really know anything about music. I don't play any instruments. I'm not
Hmm.
special at all. And what is his magic source is that he talks to the musicians, he helps them find their values, find their core basically. And what he is especially famous for is working with artists who haven't been successful for the last years. And then
Hmm.
he gets into play and talks to them. It's not that much about music, but also more about life. And I really find
Hmm.
that fascinating that oftentimes you don't really have to be the consultant that just says, yeah, I have
Hmm.
the strategy for you. You don't have to do anything. No, most of the time, the athletes or musicians or humans have all the answers within them,
Yeah.
and you just have to get them out there. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I got you. I got you. And then this because so what keeps you motivated? Because we're speaking a lot about being true to yourself, being
Yeah.
honest, and try to show your real you to the world on a professional and a sports level. But what keeps you motivated? Because as you mentioned before, there's a lot of time that there's so many people doing it. There's a lot of people doing or telling the athletes, you need to do only the social media or you need to do this or that, but you're like taking into a more personal level, I will say, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's also what motivates me.
Mm-hmm.
As I said in the beginning, I thought I would talk a lot about marketing,
Mm-hmm.
but then we are talking a lot about personal growth. And that's really amazing. Like the feedback you get when you talk to them, it's not about social media channels or something like that
Mm-hmm.
before. It's oftentimes about what do you want to achieve? Which role do you want to have even after your sports career? So oftentimes I talk to athletes who are nearing the end of their career
Mm-hmm.
or who have already finished their career and now have to find this new role. Like there's this saying, athletes die twice. So once when they finish their career and once when
Mm-hmm.
they like really die. And
Okay.
so that's I don't even know how to describe it. That's crazy that we like just let them die basically
Yeah.
and they don't get any support. And I feel in my conversations with athletes that they really enjoy talking about more than just sports, but them as
Mm-hmm.
a human being, as a persona outside of sports, where we are talking about how can you position yourself, what is your expertise, what are your experiences that you've gained within sports, and how can these experiences be valuable for other people in the future. So it's really like that motivates me every day to
Mm-hmm.
not only be like this marketing consultant, but more like talk about bigger things in life with them.
Okay. Now I have this in my mind because also myself as a former athlete, I used to play American football, but most of the time we tend to avoid one word, failure, when you're an athlete because you don't want to speak about it, right?
Yeah.
So now you, as a former athlete, now a sports business professional, how you handle failure, but not you, but for your athletes.
Yeah. Yeah. So failure in sports business, that's really an interesting topic. For myself, to begin with that,
Mhm,
it was especially a topic in the beginning of my sports business journey. And I don't really get how we treat like beginners in this sector, like low wages, oftentimes 1 year contracts. Of course, you have doubts when you
mhm,
steadily have to write applications, for example. But then the biggest link to athletes again is believing in your own strength. Um, for me, it was always like
mhm,
when I wrote applications, for example, when I wanted to move from Frankfurt to Hamburg, of course, I wrote several applications, but I always had the feeling like if I get one shot at an interview, I'm doing great. So I will be able to persuade them, show them how I can support their company, and everything will be all right. And I think it's the same with athletes. First of all, you have to be brave to put yourself out there, not only as an athlete, but also as a person. That's the the
mhm,
first big step. And yeah, then oftentimes it's just a definition of failure. For example, a lot of athletes feel like failure is a hard work, but feel misunderstood if they finish their career and now they
mhm,
are sitting at home and really have nothing to do and feel like they don't provide any value to society. Um, so again, believing in your own strength can then be a vital part in the next chapter of your career. So it always comes back to
mhm.
this.
Now, what do you do as a sports professional, a sports marketing professional, when you want to help an athlete to show who they are, but here's the twist. Their political, social, and religious views are not aligned, and I will say quote unquote aligned with what is correct on the mainstream. How can you handle that?
Yeah. So Of course, you have to ask yourself the question, what do you want to achieve and
Mm-hmm.
what do you want to show in order to achieve these goals?
Yeah.
If it's your goal to persuade someone or show them maybe the good sides of, even though, of course, this is not the good sides for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
but sure, you just have to think about all the advantages and disadvantages that come from this. I'm a big believer in thinking about the end. You have to
Mm-hmm.
think about every consequence that can come along with this. If you want to put yourself out there and talk about political
Mm-hmm.
things, religious things, for example, you have to ask yourself, what are the advantages that come with this? Can I really make a difference? Can I make a change? But of course, I also have to think about all the disadvantages, advantages that come with it. And oftentimes, I feel like um, athletes or other people are then surprised by how little they can change, even though this sounds hard.
Mm-hmm.
But the disadvantages then hit really hard. And I
Okay.
always feel like they haven't thought all the consequences through.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no yes, do it or no, please don't answer, but
Mm-hmm.
you just have to think about the consequences, of course. Maybe you will find new followers for your beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
but in the end, of course, you have to think about the consequences. You can do anything that you want and put your thoughts out there,
Mm-hmm.
um, but still, it can have certain disadvantages, of course.
Okay. 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 It's good to know because I think most of the athletes or the professional athletes sometimes doesn't often think about what could happen if they say or do something. But yeah, it's always a good reminder for them, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, Now, Marco, how do you envision the future of sports marketing in Europe? And before you answer, I want to put something out of my mind because I always believe that in Germany they want to do sports marketing like the big organizations, right? Or the big leagues. They wanted to do it, but they're like, no. I mean, they're like, no, we're gonna like
I know
no,
exactly what
because
you're
that's
talking
too
about. Yeah, yeah,
American or
yeah.
that's too whatever. It's like that's my belief. I don't know what you think about this one.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I think you're 100% right. I also see that in a lot of discussions. On the other hand, there are so many external influences that are uh, coming into place there. And I think change needs to come to this organization, or otherwise they will become much less relevant. What we are seeing right now in the sports marketing or sports industry in Europe is that it is also already becoming much more diverse. So, for example, you have these new sports event that I just talked about, the indoor soccer tournaments, for example, Baller League, Icon League, but you also have new events in all kinds of sports. For example, I watched the Sail GP a couple of weeks ago, which is amazing. And also not only diverse in this style, but I mean, we have seen in the recent weeks how women's football has
Yeah.
attracted a much bigger audience. So this is amazing as well, but also more diverse when it comes to marketing channels, for example. Look at the opportunities that we have through different channels. The upcoming of Twitch, for example, has been really interesting in sports.
Hmm.
What we in Europe need to focus on is still reaching out to our target audience, understanding how they view sports, how they want to consume sports, where they want to watch sports, for example. And I feel like most sports organizations still haven't grasped how especially the young target audience works.
Hmm.
For example, if I look at my sports, handball, if you type in handball at the YouTube search, you will find nearly nothing. There are only sports highlights, but there's nothing around the sport itself. So I think this will also change in Europe drastically in the upcoming years, especially if you look at the American sport areas, like how many podcasts there are, how much
Yeah.
athletes are having their own channels or shows. And this will certainly come to Europe in the upcoming years.
You see in the near future professional athletes, for example, Thomas Müller or Manuel Neuer or stuff like that, just having their
Sure.
own podcasts or their own shows, or they're having like their own space to talk with other athletes. Well, that's
Yeah,
really
yeah. I mean, you
something.
see this already in the US. If you look at Pat McAfee, for example, he's
Yeah,
a prime example how this can work out. Or the Kelsey brothers. That's amazing how much viewers they get on their podcast. I mean, I think it's one of the biggest podcasts in the US. Sports is so big for not only in the US but also in Europe, and I think it's really surprising that we haven't seen more athletes do their own thing, basically.
yeah. Okay. Now, I want to quote something because a couple years ago I spoke with a colleague, Daniel Jensen, um, and then I spoke with him and says why in Germany, in particular, sports are like looking so much into the US, and like more or less his answer was because we want to achieve what they have. Do you think in terms of a sports marketing Germany has reached the point that they could say we're close to the US in certain level, or not yet?
Yeah, I totally understand where Daniel is coming from.
Yeah.
And I think from a marketing perspective, it's true. We really want to achieve that. For example, if you look at the NFL games in Germany, everybody was excited how they put up an event and what is going on around the stadium, for example. And we see
Yeah.
certain developments in Germany and Europe in this area for sure. Um, on the other hand, I still think we'll have to find our own way. For example, the stadiums in Germany and Europe are entirely different, so we have to find ways to activate the crowd there and also find new ways in getting more viewers to the TV channels and streams when sports is available. Um, it's not like we need to copy the US. You will
Hmm.
probably never see like these tailgates in front of stadiums in Germany, but it's a different culture,
Yeah.
and we'll have to find ways to adapt these cultures into our marketing as well.
I believe that Germany should stick what's good for Germany, which is the traditions that they have, because you cannot see what you have in a handball game or in a basketball game or in a football game. Like the people, like the atmosphere that you have here in Europe, you cannot have it in the US,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so that's something really attractive that people can use more in their favor, so they can come to Germany to watch that, to be part of that experience.
yeah,
Because when we go to the US, we want to experience the tailgate, we want to experience
sure.
the halftime show, we want to do this or
Yeah,
that, because that's something attractive they have. So I
yeah, yeah.
think I don't know, I want to have your take on this, but I think that each country and each league should stick with what they do best, and they can potentiate it, and then people can be attracted to it, right?
Yeah, but you have to be careful about that.
Mhm.
So on the one side, I understand that a lot of football fans from England, for example, are traveling to Germany every week because they really like the atmosphere in the German stadiums and standing while watching football matches, for example, and everything. And this is really exciting for them. On the other hand, this will not work for every sport, and especially not if we see the US leagues, for example, coming to Europe now. So you have the NFL with their events coming to Europe more often. You hear talks about the NBA coming to Europe. And this can be a danger for every league that is already in Europe. So
Mhm.
when especially the young target group finds these US games attractive in Europe, then of course you have to ask yourself the question, is this the same target group that we are targeting? And what is attractive to them that we are not providing right now? Otherwise, they would be coming to our matches. Is it that that the athletic level is higher, that you want to see like the biggest stars in the game? Yeah, probably also. Like if Patrick Mahomes is coming to Germany, everybody wants to see him. Um, but I think you can also put some thoughts into how you can evolve your own matches, not like copy them, as I said, the US style, but maybe talk to the target group, ask them what they want, try to understand why they want to visit the US matches in Germany and not the regular basketball or football matches in Germany.
And for example, you as a fan, what do you value the most when you go to like any type of game? Doesn't matter if it's handball, basketball, whatever. Like, but as a fan, what do you value the most?
Um, when I watch handball, of course, I want to see close matches. I want to
Mhm.
see the sports in general, but it's also, yeah, the atmosphere and everything around it. For example, if I watch handball matches in Germany, and I wrote a long article not so long ago about this, I really don't understand why I need to wait 25 minutes for 3 beers and then get like a hot dog which does not taste good and everything. I just want to go there and want to have a great time. And a great time includes a really good match, but also I want to eat something, I want to drink something. And oftentimes we don't understand in sports in general, not only in handball, how a good stadium feeling overall feels like or should feel like. And this is something where we can especially learn a lot from US sports. I mean, if you look at the new arenas or even older arenas, but how they reconstructed them so that they can get more revenue out of sport events, it's amazing. And I would certainly drink more beer and eat more hot dogs at sports events if this is organized better.
Okay, okay. Now that you mentioned this, first of all, I want to share my last experience when I went to a Foxy game, um, because the game was really close, was really good. The game,
Yeah.
I mean, I think Berlin won. Um, but then at the end of the game, because I was with my wife and with a couple of friends, so we were heading out of the arena, and then on the PA they sound like free beers for everyone, free beers for everyone, and all the stadium, all the arena was like nuts. And then you have like 20, 25 minutes waiting, but you can take
Yeah.
as much beer as you want because they want to just, at the end of the game, just want to get rid of everything. It's the first and only time that happens in my life that's the first one. I don't know if that happens the same one in Hamburg, but at least in Berlin, they know
Yeah.
how to do it.
Not in Hamburg, no.
Okay.
Never experienced free beer at a handball match in Germany.
And then I want to know something from you because last year and this year and for the upcoming years, Fortuna Düsseldorf want to do something similar that you said, that you mentioned, because
Yeah,
they're going to have all the local games, or they plan to have all the local games, all the home games, they want it for free for the fans
yeah,
because they believe that if the fan doesn't spend money on a ticket, doesn't matter the cost. If you don't spend money on a ticket, you can buy more beer and you can buy more hot dogs and you can buy more food and this or merchandise.
yeah,
What do you
yeah.
think about that one?
Yeah, it's amazing because like that's a really strategic approach to it. Like not thinking about ticket prices, but more like how can we get more supporters to the stadium,
Yeah,
but also more supporters in general. Because if this audience is growing, we will get a return later on, and that's perfectly fine. It won't work in every sport, unfortunately. I would love to see experiments in other sports because take Hamburg again as an example in handball. They outsourced everything. Like they
okay.
are renting the stadium and they have to pay the rent. So it's difficult if you say like we
Everything for
don't
free.
Yeah, everything for free, and you still have to pay
Oh
the rent.
yeah.
They are not selling any merchandise. I think they have like a small shop in the corner where
Hmm.
nobody buys anything. And they also outsource this. They will not get anything if I drink more beer or eat more hot dogs because they outsource this as well. So it's really difficult for them because they don't really participate in anything but the ticket prices.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's oftentimes I feel like it would be a good thing if investors would go into these clubs and really see clubs and sports organizations as a whole and
Hmm.
take these strategic approaches because to be fair, like Düsseldorf is not the richest club that there is, but they still have possibilities and on a financial perspective to try these things out. And also, if I understand it correctly, they go to sponsors and say like,
Yes.
you can sponsor this certain match day, and that's how the equation works, basically. And that's not possible in smaller sports like handball,
Okay.
basketball, volleyball, because most of the time they get one sponsoring fee for the whole season, and that's
Yeah.
pretty much it.
Okay.
But exciting
Okay.
still, yeah.
It's pretty interesting because when I experienced a game of the Fortuna Dusseldorf this year, and then people from the team was speaking with us about that one and about the initiative that they have. So for me, was really interesting to understand that because in my head, I always believe that one of the major revenues as an organization that you have is the ticket revenues. But
Yeah.
if you decided to sponsor everything, for me it's like perfect. That's a brilliant
Yeah, yeah,
idea,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Then,
sure.
for example, how can you potentiate that, like what a team is doing, for example, Fortuna Düsseldorf, but for an athlete, because an athlete needs to potentiate their own brand, but they cannot have as many sponsors as an organization. So how can they help from this type of initiative? So if they want to do something similar.
Yeah, yeah. I read about an initiative a couple of weeks ago, a couple of days ago, I
Hmm.
think, where one, let me think about that. I think there is one company, I forgot the name, who are providing all black shirts to athletes, and
Hmm.
then they go non-branded. So they don't have any sponsors at all, but this company is paying them for, I think, only a couple of days during the tournaments, and they
Hmm.
can be proud to go without sponsors. So
Okay.
this is also like a really interesting concept. And if they then find sponsors, they can immediately go out of this contract and take the sponsorship deal if they want to. But it's also like not every athlete will find a sponsor. I oftentimes get requests like, "Can you help me find a sponsor?" And then I talk to them and ask them which
Yeah.
kind of sponsor, what are your goals, how is your target audience built, and everything. And they don't have any answers. So the
Yeah.
first step in finding sponsors for athletes, in my opinion, is again think about what you can provide to them. What are your assets? What are you willing to share or do, or
Mhm.
what? So I mean, the chief marketing officers at a lot of companies are also getting younger. They want to see some data and everything.
Yeah.
So you really have to have like a sponsorship package that is attractive for them as well.
Now, for example, I want to go back to Sport IQ because this talk can go forever and ever. It is amazing. No, but I want to speak a little bit more about Sport IQ. So right now, for you, what has been the most, like, the proudest moment that you have with Sport? Let me rephrase it. So sorry. So I want to speak a little bit more about Sport IQ. So what has been the proudest moment that you have so far?
Um, so it's still a really young project, but
Hmm.
I had a couple of proud moments. During the weekend, Christian Zeitz wrote me a message. He has been the most successful handball player in Germany of all time. And I still remember watching him when I was like 13 or 14 years old in the Bundesliga, and he was one of my heroes. And I had a couple sessions with him. We talked a lot about his future, and he wrote me a message like how amazing this was, and that he now sees his path really clear and how I helped him. So that's amazing, man. I mean, this guy is, I think, 10 years older than me or something like that. And just to discuss with him what his possible next steps could be and then get like this reference from him, that was like the proudest moment as of now for Sport IQ.
Oh, that's nice. That's amazing. Now, how you see this project in 5 years?
Mm, I know that oftentimes, especially in business podcasts, everybody's
Yeah.
saying like, yeah, I want to become a unicorn or hire 10 new employees or something like that. But that's not the future of Sport IQ. This is a really personal service that I offer. So I
Hmm.
still see it, yeah, surrounding myself. I really hope like in 5 years that um, there are
Hmm.
more athletes understand the importance of building a personal brand. Not because you want to sell yourself, but because it helps you so much even in the time after sports. That this is becoming more urgent in the future, and that I can be a good solution, a good service for them, that they understand it makes sense that I, especially during my active time, already work on it, and Marco is a good partner for that. That I would love.
Now I want to try to do this exercise with you, Marco, because zum Beispiel, I'm an athlete, right? And then I'm speaking with you the way we're doing it right now, and then you said, you know what, you need to show the way you are, stick true to your values, um, choose your target audience, choose what type of message you want to share, choose your values. But what if I'm just saying, you know what, I don't give a crap. I just want to sell. I just want to have money out of my social media. I just want to have money out of sponsorship deals
Yeah,
because that's what I want to do because I don't give a damn about anything else.
yeah. Good
How
luck
can
with that.
how can you turn how can you turn that athlete, because it can happen because everyone needs money for everything, right?
Sure.
So that's something. But how can you turn that athlete, that mindset right now, well, at that moment, and then turn it to something that could be or could become a role model?
Yeah. Yeah, I totally understand your question. And of
Mhm.
course, I also had discussions with athletes that don't really understand the added
Mhm.
value of my approach. Of course, I could try to persuade this athlete and tell him about the negative aspects of just
Mhm.
selling yourself. But actually, my approach is not to.
Mhm.
I really want to work with, even if it's like 5% of the athletes that understand how my approach works, I want to work with them. I don't want to persuade the other 95%.
Okay.
No, that's basically my approach. If you don't get it, sorry, then you don't get it. Go your own way. And I think if you want to be successful in the long term, then
Mhm.
my approach is the better way. I can just tell you that.
Okay. That's really interesting because, as they said, talk the talk and walk the walk. Because if you want to share that you need to be true to yourself and to your values, that's something that you stick with it. That's really good. I like that one. I like that one. And now, saying that, what has been the biggest challenge? Because probably not all the athletes said, you know what, I want to share how I am as a person. I don't want people know me because that's my personal life. So what has
Yeah.
been the biggest challenge for you so far?
You mean for me personally or together with
On
the
your
athletes?
professional journey, yeah.
Yeah. I think the biggest challenge is always to find your own way. Like, especially in the German sports marketing and management industry, you have like this these two or three big universities where everybody's coming from. Then a lot of young professionals go to these big marketing agencies or sponsorship agencies and work there. And I always looked at them a little bit, yeah, not jealous, but it's a feeling of not belonging there. And am I really part of this industry? And again, where this is coming from then is like believing in myself, believing in my own perspective on this industry, and then finding your way. I also did a coaching to understand that better. I also thought in the beginning, like, I need to build this big sports platform and everything, but I have gained so many experiences in the past that I can share with athletes. I have this business experience now for over 15 years. Or if you look at it, I started basically when I was 14 years old with the German Handball Federation. And this can be really valuable for athletes, especially if you look at them. Do not underestimate, even though they are 35 years old at the end of their career, they don't have the same business experience. They have other experience, but that's why it's a partnership. And this has been my biggest challenge to understand how I can be of value for others.
Okay. Now, on the personal level, what's make Marco Kehrenberg unique?
Everything, man. Like, that's what I'm saying to all the athletes as well. Everything that you do is happening for a reason. I don't want to sound esoterical or something like that, but I'm not a big religious guy. But everything that you do is something that you carry with you, the good and the bad, and you just have to find ways to yeah, to share that with others and maybe create a service out of it, give speeches or something like that. There isn't like the one thing that's making me unique. Of course, I have my strength and my weaknesses, but I couldn't name one thing. I mean, my CV and my role within handball is pretty unique, but that's basically it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. It's an interesting question all the time because when we ask someone to mention something that makes you unique, often we're like, ah, you know, like it's something
Yeah.
complicated to do like an introspective view for ourselves. Now,
That's also
uh,
interesting.
uh,
The talk in personal branding about authenticity. And
yeah,
then you see them all copying the same trends on every platform. I always find it fascinating how, like, how can you talk about uniqueness or authenticity and then
yeah,
do the same thing that everybody's doing? So
yeah,
again,
absolutely,
find your own way. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And then, for example, what values of a sport has helped you to build your professional brand and help athletes to build the professional brands?
Wow, so many again. I really like the saying of I think it's the Philadelphia 76ers and especially Joel Embiid, trust the process. Like, you don't see progress every day, but you have to believe that progress is coming and success is coming. And I think that's really a valuable lesson from sports. Like, you train so much and you have good trainings and you have bad trainings and workouts. But in the end, it's important in the decisive moments what you put out there on the playing field. And therefore, I'm really a believer in like you can, success is not like building step by step. You have downs and you have ups, and you just have to believe that success is coming in the end. And I really like that part of sports, and that helped me in business as well.
If I'm 100% agree with you because in the end, if everything's gonna be good, if it's not good right now, it's because it's not the end. So yeah, I like that one. I like that
Yeah,
one.
another good saying. Yeah.
And then, for example, we're almost finished with the podcast, but I want to know something. First of all, do you like sports movies?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, which one is your favorite so far?
Um, I think it has become quite controversial, but I really like The Blind Side.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, yeah,
But it's kind of controversial because I think the story hasn't been entirely true. But if you just look at the movie itself,
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
really like it because like
Okay,
someone believes in an athlete and then he's becoming a pro and I think even a Super Bowl champion. So of course that's a
yeah.
great story, really good storytelling. Yeah.
Okay. Then, if your life were a movie and people are watching it right now, what they will be screaming at the screen that you need to do?
Probably boring. Even though even though this all might sound exciting, like building a company, like trying it on your own, most of the time, I work from home. I have meetings with athletes. We are talking hours and hours and hours. In between, I go outside with my dog to the forest. So it's not as exciting as it seems. It's really like a people business. You talk a lot. You try to structure things. I like to write a lot. This is something that I learned, especially the last year, that it's really helpful for me to write things down, structure them there, put ideas to paper. I also write a lot of articles for my LinkedIn, my own blog, for the German Handball Federation. So a lot of writing, a lot of talking, not the most exciting movie, I guess.
Okay, so people are saying right now like boring. They're
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
really? This
yeah,
this is
yeah.
it?
Nothing's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, I know. Now, reflecting on your journey, oh, I moved the camera, sorry. Now, reflecting on your journey, is there anything that you will say or do different?
Well, I wish I would have started with my own projects much earlier. Like now, I am now 34 years old. I had to think about that. Um, I really would have liked to, not this project, but any project, just start side projects, for example, because for me, it was so decisive that I have started this ticketing platform. But this has also been like in my late 20s. So starting early with own projects, even though they are totally bad ideas, to stick with your podcast name, is so helpful because you gain so much experience. It's a great story all the time in every job interview, in every, even at personal events. They always are fascinated if you're talking about your own things. And also the people that you meet, the connections that you made through this. So if I could change anything, I mean, turn back the time and start earlier with everything.
Okay, finally, before your bad idea, what has been the biggest or the best advice that you ever received?
Best advice that I've ever received. Yeah, I mean, I talked about my handball coach,
Mhm.
um, with this mindset of take your time. You can't change anything in one day. Um, this gives me like really it chills me out because it's you don't have to stress yourself out every day
Mhm.
and think I need to change the world today. This is not how it works. And
Mhm.
just if you start anything new, give it a year, stick to it, do your best. But also, in the first place, I repeat myself all the time, but really try to understand what your values are,
Mhm.
how this is interlinked with these values and your personal goals, and then yeah, just try it, give it a try for a year, and see where things are going.
Okay. Now, Marco, finally your bad idea that in the end turned out to be a good idea. I think I have a little bit of idea because you mentioned it before, but now it's the time to just explain yourself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. As I said, like this really, when I first pitched it here at home or to anybody, like building a ticketing platform for handball, but not selling the tickets yourself, but just providing the information, and then they have to go to a different platform. From a user perspective, this is like a really bad idea. And also from an effort perspective, how much time I put into this,
Yeah.
definitely a bad idea. But it was my first own project. I got to meet my later boss. He has a huge network. I got to meet a lot of people. You never know how things are going. So this has really been the worst idea that was kind of the foundation for anything else that has come after this.
Okay. Then, Marco, before we let you go, um, what can what piece of advice can you give to the people who want to start doing their own sports project or they want to start working in the sports industry? It doesn't matter in which area, but what type of advice can you give them?
Yeah, really find a project that you want to work on every day, the whole day. Like I oftentimes hear pitches that sound really difficult, and I often ask myself, is this something that this person is passionate about, or do they just want to earn money? And I can only advise to do something that you're passionate about. This has, for me, proven successful. I oftentimes ask myself like what I would be doing if it's not handball, and I can't even imagine anything out of sports. So for me, it was always about passion, and I certainly have found my way there. So I can only advise to others, do something that you are passionate about.
Okay, that's a pretty good advice. Thank you for sharing it. And Marco, we thank you for all the experience that you shared with us, your passion, how you start building up the different projects that you have so far. We wish you all the best with Sport IQ. We know that you're gonna have a lot of success during your journey and during your path. So thanks a lot for your time and for your kindness.
Thanks for inviting me. It was really a great time. Even though we just have been connected a couple of weeks ago, it felt like a long
Yeah, I
time
know.
coming. But I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And we will stick around and then thanks again, man. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you.